Fernando. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here and talking with us today. But I would like to hear from you. I want to hear from you specifically as to who you are. You have the World Tennis Conference. It's the fifth one coming up. But please introduce yourself and tell us about the World Tennis Conference.
Thank you, Shaun. Thank you, Bobby, for the invitation. It's a privilege for me to share some ideas and a concept about our loved sport. I'm coming from Argentina. Originally, I'm a city which is Mar del Plata, where the revolution of tennis started many, many years ago in terms of the Argentinian tennis. My coach, Felipe Losicero, was the first guy in Argentina start to teach with topspin. And he first, or let's say, famous player was Guillermo Vilas. Guillermo Vilas won 4 Grand Slam, was number 2 in the world. Today will be number 1 in the world because he won 77. He won 2 Grand Slams, US Open and Roland Garros, and 14 ATP tournaments. Can you imagine? You know, in those times, the system of percentage was different if you compare with actually how the ranking works. But going to me, from the early age, I want to be not only a player, more than that, I want to be a coach, using the concept which I was learning from my master coach. And I was studying in Roland Garros in the French Federation, high performance. Then I was studying in different countries, always looking to create system to develop an approach to have more people and better quality of tennis, but like a system, not like a natural way if you provide a player. What happened in my country when Guillermo Vilas came, everybody wants to play tennis. This is one way. You know, it's happened, let's say, in Mexico with Raul Ramirez, with Guga in Brazil. Many times when one player appears, everyone wants to play tennis. But we have to go in the opposite direction to do a development program to create a systematic approach to develop players, not only in terms of high performance players, which is my main focus of work, also to develop coaches, to develop better competitions, to develop promotion, more people playing in a recreational promotional basis, many different aspects. I was working with 5 different countries, like a national tennis director. I was working with Mexico, Brazil, and Argentina. My first country, which I was national tennis director, was my own country, which was my first purpose and goal, like a young guy at the beginning. And then, like a main consultant, I was working with Australia and New Zealand, and of course, in many different organizations in the United States and Europe, and also in Asia. I wrote many books. I spent the last 45 years involved in how to develop a systematic approach to create growth in our sport. This is my main objective. In that sense, 5-6 years ago, we built up a new concept, which is the World Tennis Conference, which from my point of view and my experience, we have a lot of conferences in tennis, but nothing in terms to talk specifically about high performance. Why we create a project following another project, because when I was national director in Mexico, 2013, we created the ITF Worldwide Coaches Conference in Cancun. We were together with the ITF doing the best conference for the ITF, and we did the record. We had 924 coaches 1 week in Cancun, which is still is the record. You know, normally ITF conference is around 600, 700 coaches in 1 week. And I was in that time this coaches committee, and I was working with ITF with my good friend Dave Miley. I was talking and I say, we have 500,000 people working like a tennis coach in the world. Yes, 500,000 people working like us, like coaches. You know, if we did the record, 924, how are we going to move the needle? It's impossible to have all the guys in one place. You know, And from my point of view, because I always was, my objective was centered into develop coaches, and through coaches develop players. I was not the type of coach who wants to develop a player only. I always wants to develop coaches that coaches develop players. Even when I was national director, I was working a lot because from my point of view, coaches are always in the middle. That's why I used to say the person in the middle is the coach. In any program you can do, you have to put the coach in the middle. Why? Because the coach is the most influential person that can bring not only knowledge or awareness, is to build up a pathway following different experiences. Okay, not only the good ones, because this is another thing to speak a little bit, after this. I say to the guys of the ITF, how are we going to move the needle? 924 coaches, and we have 500,000 people working. That's why I start to say to them, let's do something online, spend time, to political some situations, always. And I say, okay, I'm going to do it. And I start a project with my team to create the Worldwide Coaches Conference, which is mainly focused on the high performance. Why is important for me to have a high performance mentality? Even you can bring the high performance, because you can be in mini tennis, you can be working in adults, you can be working with events. The most important, if you develop a high standard how you are doing your work, your job, okay? And the main examples in tennis is the guy which normally are producing players who are playing at the top of the best circuit on the planet. And that's why we create that bridge between the top guys, the top coaches in the world, and we have the support of the ATP, the WTA. We are working together with the GPTCA, which is the Global Professional Tennis Coaches Association, where you can have the degree, the certification of the ATP. And this is our 5th year. To say something, Shaun and Bobby, only in this conference we have coaches who won 38 Grand Slams. You can see the level of the coaches. Sometimes you have a conference, probably you can have 3 or 4 top guys, and then you have, good coaches, well experienced, but not probably with the level of success in terms of results. We have top scientists, top experts, top coaches on the circuit, and the conference is divided in 4 days. First day are 70 coaches who are working actually on the circuit. Second day is about technical stuff. It's more about biomechanics, methodology, and technical recommendations. We have a lot of coaches. That day, we are starting with Tony Nadal. And Tony Nadal won 17 Grand Slams. But he is presenting about a technical concept, even though he is not right now traveling the circuit, but he won 17 Grand Slam with Rafa, Then the second presentation of the day is Rick Macy. And the last presentation of the day, we have 18 speakers that day, is Louis Caillé. Louis Caillé, for the history of tennis, he developed 8 number 1 in doubles. Probably is the best coach in doubles on the tennis history. He's working since almost 20 years ago for England, for the LTA. He's Canadian. Third day is about sports science. We have top guys like Dr. Jim Lohr, Jack Groppel, Lorenzo Beltrame, Ann Quinn, many top guys. We have Lee Jelem, which is a physical coach who was 2 times in the final of Roland Garros with Robin Southerling. We have a lot of experts and scientists with great results with players. And the fourth day is about human development. It's because behind or before to be a tennis player, you have a human being. You have to understand the human being to be a very effective coach. And we are talking now also, which is related with the last question that you're going to make, about the future of tennis, because we have the presentation about the future of high performance for the ATP, WTA, TDI, RSPA. Many different organizations are involved with us to try to create a pathway for the next 10 years where tennis is going. That's like an overall picture about the conference.
That's fantastic. And that's moving the needle. And what you and I spoke about previously is you've got 70 speakers, and if each of them can move the needle 1%, you can actually see some significant change there. And I love that. And we will talk about the future, but I want to jump back a little bit and talk about the past. One of the reasons we're speaking to you today is because today is a fairly recognizable anniversary of tennis. Can you talk to us about that?
Well, thank you, Shaun. It's a very important day. Probably most of the people, even in tennis, they don't know about it. You know, the tennis was created exactly 151 years ago, you know, in terms of how we know now. But in 1873, the founder of tennis was the Mayor Clopton Winfield. Walter Clopton Winfield created, and was amazing his story because he was an innovator. And the innovation was to put everything together in one box. He didn't invent the racket. He didn't invent the balls. He didn't invent the net or the poles. The invention was to put everything together, to create rules, and try that people can be playing on parks, on public spaces. You know, that was the main objective. That's why, and another aspect which is interesting of his story, which is the first patent was 1873, September of 1873, and he put the name to the game. The name was Sparatiske. Sparatiske in Greek means the ball game. But he realized that nobody understands the name, which is even today, you kind know it's not a very good branding name, let's say, you know. And he changed it for the second patent, which is approved 24th of February 1874. The Queen Victory approved the patent on lawn tennis, which was the second brand today, 151 years ago. And that's why it's very important to understand that our game is a game for everyone. And I always try to mention to everyone, because sometimes we are in the, you know, in the situation to talk about if tennis is pretty old, if it's losing the battle against new sport like pickleball or paddle. And I say to everyone, guys, we have to bring back the spirit of Winfield. Winfield was an innovator, putting everything in one box. The second mentality or concept of his mentality was he was a development guy. He wants everyone playing tennis. And third one, he was thinking like a businessman. That's why he changed it, the name Sparatiske, for the second name, because he was thinking like a businessman. I always say to everyone, and I did many conferences in the United States that speaking about that, we need to recover our passion. It's not about them. It's about us. What we need to learn from other sports which are growing, and I celebrate that they are growing, is to recover our own passion for our game and be creative, be recovering the spirit of Winfield, you know, because we have 151 years, you know, or more than 300 million people playing tennis in the world. Sometimes, Shaun, and it's Bobby too, we don't speak too much about the benefits of the kind of sport that we have. We talk too much about forehands, backhand, or what happened in the circuit. But what happened in the circuit is less than 1% of tennis. You know, how many players do you think that is living quite good or in some kind of level of a professional tennis? 3,000? 2,000? Let's say 3,000, you know, because some players are going to interclubs in Europe, some other players are playing in France for a small amount of money, but they can live off that. You know, we are talking about 300 million people playing our sport. We have the fifth sport in terms of quantity of people playing our sport. We can be explaining the benefits of our sport. That's from my point of view. It's not only about to celebrate the birthday of tennis, it's to remark all the benefit that we have and promote that benefit to bring people. Of course, we need to learn. Probably society today needs more social environment. That's why some sports are growing more. Sometimes tennis is so complicated to learn because you need a lot of skills to do that. But now we have Shaun, Bobby, do you know which is the biggest amateur circuit in the world? It's Japan, with 3 million people playing amateur tennis with green ball. From the beginning, 10 years ago, 12 years ago, they started to create an amateur circuit with green ball, which is having a bounce 25% less of the bounce on the normal ball. And they put the amateur people to play with the green ball. Why? Because you have to play more. You have to hit more balls. For a normal player, for an adult, to pass the ball over the net, it's success. It doesn't care if we have a good technique. If I hit it like that or like that, oh, come on. You can say that pickleball, everyone has a very good technique. No, it's about to pass the ball over the net and to create an example that we can play many times. Probably we missed the point when 25 years ago or 20 years ago, most of the tennis federation following the ITF, they applied the different balls, the different size of the racket, and we didn't use it for the adults. The Japanese took the advantage to do that. But sometimes we need to think what the society wants. We can have the normal game, which is the traditional game, and then we can adapt some kind of games or situations that to bring more people to our sport. No, this is even we are doing the celebration to Mayor Winfield, and you know which is funny. Winfield was like a 2-3 years because the first rules of that he created, he was following more the croquet. Croquet is the it's like a cricket, and it was a very close rules. Then he changed it, and a couple of persons helped him to change a little more the rules. They did some tournaments. Well, I'm talking 1875, 1877, but in July in 1877, became Wimbledon. And Wimbledon was the first big tournament in the world. That's why the oldest Grand Slam is Wimbledon. Of course, in the war, in the two wars, they don't did the tournament. But in 2035, they will have 150 years. That's why, because they missed 10 years. But anyway, my point is the first big tournament was Wimbledon, and since there, can you imagine one idea, one concept that he put everything in a box? Now 300 million people is playing all over the world.
We'll call that a success. And Bobby, it sends me thinking of the history and thinking of the future, and Fernando's comment about creating a system and having that pathway for players to make up for when you don't have the tennis is cool right now guy at the top. So Fernando, Bobby is a fan of having that guy at the top. So Bobby, what's the thing there? Is it kind of a give and take that one begets the other?
Yeah, I like the idea. You got to work both simultaneously. And that's what I would say. That's the big advantage I feel golf has over tennis. Golf continues to promote the game. When a Tiger Woods comes along, it explodes. We wait too long with tennis for the next thing. And, frankly, we've been very spoiled the last 20 some odd years. There's a lot of pressure on the guys right now to keep up with the level of play that we've become accustomed to. So it's a great time to promote the system. Love what the Japanese are doing. And, it's okay to be patient. It takes some time.
And also, there are a lot of strategy that we can apply, like Bobby said. tennis, you have to dream. When a player, a couple of years ago, I was with one American organization. Don't put myself in politics. No, I will mention that I have a meeting with some guys, and I say to them, when I did the project in Argentina, we won. I was a national director since May of 1996. Okay, October 1996, we won the World Championship in Japan under 14. What we did was the first time worldwide that the one team was using the soccer T-shirt with the national colors, and we put the logo, because for Argentinians, football, we call it soccer in the United States, is a culture. It's like a Brazilian. It's like a first sport. It's for you, American football or baseball. It's like everyone is talking about that. And we use a symbol to create sense of belonging, and create the sense that you belong to a country and fight and have passion, and we won the tournament. You can see pictures of Coria, Navaldian, and Pastorino, who was the team. Coria and Navaldian, then they were number 3 in the world. They was developed for my program, But we use a communication concept to create a better imagination, and also to create a sense of belonging, which is giving you an extra, a sense of purpose, And I was in a meeting with some guys in the United States, and I say, which was the last big team of United States in winning the Davis Cup? Many guys say to me, United States beating Russia. Agassi, Sampras, Courier. I think Todd Gorman was the captain, and John McEnroe. Okay, and I say to them, okay, which one was the T-shirt that they used? Okay, which was? Okay, let's do that. You are looking for the next Agassi, Sampras, Courier, and you make a deal with all the sport companies in the United States to sell that T-shirt, that every tennis school in the United States, the kids can use it, following the concept of the dream. You drop water in the plant, but sometimes to develop players, it's a communication concept. It's not only a technical approach. It's a combination of leadership, communication, the right message, and also branding, let's say, and also create the concept that you belong to your country. For you, the flag, the colors of the flag are very important. Why don't use it? Why you don't have kids everywhere using Davis Cup underage for that academy, Davis Cup, and you are creating the sense, because to develop, Bobby say one thing which is very important. Tennis is a long-term sport. To develop a player, you need at least 15 years. Today, if you are given to me or to us, someone is given to us a kid of 8 years, from 18 to 25, the standard when a player is stable in under the top 100, it's around 25 years. Okay, it means even you have the best player under 18 in the world, you're going to spend 7 years more to learn how to play in the circuit. What big is the result? Of course, if you have Alcaraz or if you have Agassi, that one is exceptions. I'm talking about normal guys. Okay, normal guys which are very good, but are normal guys. No are the Sinners or the Alcaraz or the Federers or Nadals or whatever, or the Serena Williams. Okay, the thing is, you need to create a systematic approach. Why? Because if you have a lot of players in the top 200, the players is using that platform to jump to 100. Then the next stage is top 50. The next stage is top 20, and the next stage is top 10. And every player is using that stage to jump to the next level. And why is important the sense of belonging? because it's you, Shaun, Bobby, and Fernando are training the same way, and Bobby has a great result because we train together. I can say to me, I can do that because we are training together. If he did it, I can do it again. And you're going to think the same. And that's the concept. That's why sometimes it's not a question of talent. It's a question how you approach and you put a message, a vision, how you're going to make it. And of course, you need technical or tactical stuff like sports science. Today, if you don't have very good team in sports science, you are over. It's not about, today is about footwork. Bobby, you know that, but Shaun, 70% of the technical mistake of the player in any level is about footwork. Today, if your players are not able to move in the right way, in high speed, you are over. You can have all the talent in the hand. You can have all the talent in your head, but if you don't have the talent to be always behind the ball and be able to manage different situations and different strokes and to resolve it with the legs and the body, you are over. You know what I mean? That's why I say there are a lot of things, but from my point of view, to develop players has to be that's why Einstein said many years ago, he said the most powerful force in the universe is imagination. You have to feed the imagination of the players in all the United States that they can feel that they will be the next Sampras, Agassi, Courier, whatever, Blake, Serena Williams, Sharapova, any player that you want to mention, Connors, anyone, Joe McEnroe, of course. Okay, I think sometimes we are very isolated, talking about one player. That's why Bollettieri was so good. From my point of view, Bollettieri was creating the mutual vision to every player. If you ask me, he was developing Agassi, Courier. He was working in Sampras, Sharapova, a lot of players. All of them are playing the same? No. You are talking that he has a technical style? No. He has a tactical style? No. He has a leadership style where he was able to wake up the inner warrior, and connect with everyone in the same level. That from my point of view, Bollettieri was a good,
And Bobby's big on the team atmosphere and the culture of a group being able to help a player.
What do you think, Bobby?
Look at this Spanish. Look at this, Spain. They developed the Spanish method. They had a team environment. Rafa won the French Open, but Rafa was still carrying Carlos Moya's bags. And I think that's great. And I think from what this journey we've been on, that we've taken speaking to people, everybody comes back with the players love that team environment. Like you said, give them purpose beyond themselves. A lot of people are just not selfish enough, but if you put something else on it, then they can rise to the occasion. So, I love what you're saying. I love the idea. Obviously, just from the technical standpoint, I'd love to hear your thoughts on Americans being behind because we grow up on hard courts as opposed to clay. Saying what you're saying, that it's such a more athletic sport today than it ever was, that this game is ground up. And unfortunately, in the States, you still have a bunch of coaches still focusing on the stroke and not the balance, not the, from the ground up. So there's so many things. So a system across the board, great place to start, of course. And tennis has always lacked that. And unfortunately, as we discuss often in this country, there's the governing bodies probably don't have the leadership that is necessary. To your point, I always laugh. We live in Atlanta. There's something called the Atlanta Lawn Tennis Association. It's ALTA. Mm-hmm. It's the largest recreational tennis league in the world. And if you ask people if they play tennis, they'll say, no, we play ALTA. You gave them purpose. You gave them something bigger than them, and ALTA became the vehicle. And, everything you're saying, there's plenty of proof that you're absolutely right.
and also following what Bobby said, I am publishing a book, my last book, my 12th book. It's coming now, will be in English probably at the end of April because we are correcting some things. It's called the four tennis. The four tennis for me is the tennis of the head, which is how the brain and the mind learn. The second one is the tennis of the feet. The third one is the tennis of the body and the hand. And the fourth one is the tennis of the heart. It means if you see tennis, you have to divide in different tennis because sometimes you have a player which have a wonderful hand. He's able to hit every ball, but he is not able to think, to take right decisions. Or sometimes you have a good thinker, good hand, but he is not able to move, because many times even coaches are not working to develop the right kind of pattern of play in terms of movement. If you see in the last 25 years, now it's changing, worldwide, it's changing, that the academies is working more on footwork. But from my point of view, I put it in the book, footwork is the third stroke of the back. Forehand, backhand, and footwork. If you understand that, you have to work footwork in the same level that you are working forehands or backhands, because it's the same level, even it's very important. My point is, we need to keep learning, keep discovering, keep innovating, keep challenging us about our mindset. Talking what Bobby said, we cannot train in the future of coaches like mechanics. Tennis is not about forehands and backhands. Even forehand, do you know how many forehands we have? 54. No one forehand. You have, because there is a concept which is situational training. It's depending on the situation. Sometimes you are the ball here, 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 in attack, in defense, in control, are totally different forehands. It's not only forehands, it's a general concept. The most important thing in high performance is the integrated approach, which is a situational approach about which kind of stroke you need in that particular tactical situation. And if you are not training that tactical situation, how the player will be able to compete? Because tennis is about to compete, and that's why from the beginning you need to compete always. Sometimes in the courses for coaches asking me, Fernando, when you consider that players, even amateur, can start to compete? And I say from the first lesson. Why? Because how to manage the pressure, you have to train people to manage that situation. How you do it? From the beginning, roll out a ball going to the net, which is who will be more closer to the net with the ball. Do competition, because tennis is about to compete. That's why there are a lot of players, United States, Argentina, Spain, Brazil, France, any country, that nationally they are playing quite good. But when they are going to play internationally, they are not able to play. They are not able to compete. Why? Because they don't practice enough how to manage the competition, how to deal with the pressure in different situations. You cannot ask for the player or train something that you never teach before. You know what I mean? It's like Bobby said, we have some coaches, which is good because probably 40 years ago, our teaching philosophy was more technical, and then used to happen in Argentina too. Your coach saying to you, okay, Fernando, go to play, try to watch in the rally, which is the style, which is the stroke. It's not today. You have to study first. You have to train different situations. You have to integrate your footwork, your pattern, what happened when you are in the offensive game, controlling the game, defensive game. You have to create situations and following the situation, which kind of resources you're going to use. That's why the integrated approach is more important now than the game-based approach. Game-based approach has 20 years. Now it's integrated approach that you are bringing the human being. I cannot teach. Bobby is my player. I cannot teach, to attack the short ball. Is if Bobby is no, which we call it the mirror law. The mirror law is when you face yourself and you work with your human being side, saying, okay, when the ball is short, I have doubts, I have fear, I have anxiety. Okay, what are you gonna do? To put it, over in the side, or you're gonna work with yourself to try to resolve a situation? That's why they call it mirror, and to transform you in new human being, which is able to manage that situation. That's why we need to try work with human beings. This is not about forehands or backhands. It's about how we transform people. Even for adults. I'm talking. Even I'm the niche of higher performance. It's to everyone. To everyone. To everyone is the same. If someone wants to jump forward in the next level, play tennis.
There you go. Bobby, I think we can talk for hours, and in this case, actually just listen for hours, because this is what I really like.
No, we can talk for hours. I like to share with you some ideas.
Yeah, we have a lot to learn in general, even the industry. Those of us coach types that need to learn more, and that there is more out there, and which is why we appreciate the World Tennis Conference that you're doing, because there is more out there, and it isn't just for the high performance coaches, although that's probably your target. Parents are going to learn from this. Any coach can benefit from it. I've seen the list of 70 plus coaches you have there. There is a lot of great information, and we are going to promote that as well. That's coming up the end of March, and we have all the links in the show notes, and we'll do all that, of course. But two more things. One, I wanted to ask Fernando, is there anything specific you wanted to talk about or share, or we have covered most everything that we were going to talk about this time?
I think even don't take the conference only like information. I'm talking now for your audience and for the coaches and people who is playing. If you can change 1% learning from every coach, you're going to change 70%, which is a huge, only 1% to every speaker, because sometimes we are looking for the aha moment, and that aha moment will be a principle, a concept, a phrase, and drill, many, many things. And also in terms of what we are speaking about coaches, our profession is based in to give. The kind of profession that we have is to give others. That's why we are teachers, coaches, facilitators, consultant, any name or brand that you can say. We are in the to give industry. That's why always create attention and also attraction to the game. It means, from my point of view, the last big innovator in tennis, non-sport science, in tennis, was Dennis Van der Meer, from my point of view. Dennis Van der Meer, from the point of view, was the last guy which is thinking out of the box, think for many, many coaches, which could be a better stage for coaches, And I think this is very important. But Dennis Van der Meer started the project 50 years ago. That's why we need to use what we learn and create not one person, many new Dennis Van der Meer, guys who are ready to push forward, bringing innovation. And which was the key from my point of view? He was creating attention, which is when the brain is capturing attention, immediately it's like a kid. It's paying attention what you are saying, Second, create attraction. Do your tennis program attractive to participate, to learn. Third, create traction, movement. Why sometimes tennis is boring? If I'm doing always the same drill, it's gonna be bored for the people. It's easy, because the attention of one kid of 8-10 years is 10 minutes. If you are doing forehand to forehand for 15 minutes, my full and my gasoline in my tank, my brain tank is over. Why? because you don't capture my attention, and you don't be very creative to create attraction. You know what I mean? That's why new generation are totally different that we used to be when we were kids, you know? And that's why this is a message for all the coaches out there, you know, create attention, capture, know the names. But Dennis Van der Meer was so good knowing the names of everyone, saying, hey, Bobby, you are coming to the conference, no? He saw Bobby and then he said, hey, Bobby, how are you? Immediately. And you say, oh, hey, Fernando, how are you? Immediately, the sense of recognition is very important to create connection. You know, that's why if you are a tennis coach and you are working with kids, be in the same level with your eyes, same level, know the name of the kids. Open your arms. When you are opening your arms, the brain is registering that it's a safe place to be. Smile, which is connection, and then say, hey, I'm waiting for you. You know, sometimes it's about technique and understand how human beings connect with different tools which help us to deliver the message. People are not connecting because I'm the best coach teaching the forehand in the United States. Come on, guys. No, Bobby, what do you think?
No, I'm with you. I mean, I'm sitting here just laughing, and of course, you nail all my favorites. I love Dennis Van der Meer. I had the pleasure of I worked with an associate of his. I watched him give a clinic, and like you said, that was part of their method. Is you learned everybody's name, and he, you know, I watched him give a clinic. I still do to this day. I heard him say, "Take a picture" with his South African accent 10,000 times because they were working on volleys, and everybody who came to that, he would say, "Take a picture," and I love what you're saying. To me, I love, and if we could sell it, this is a great thing. How do we teach the idea? Because we always go to the outliers. Like you mentioned the Alcaraz, the Sinners, all the guys that don't take the normal path. How do we convince the folks that it's going to be 25 years? And here's the great part about it. You can still be getting better at 40. You might not win Wimbledon anymore, but you should still be getting better. And, so many people get into it. Oh, the learning curve, they get excited, then they plateau, and they lose some of the passion for the game. That's the great part about this game is that it is constantly evolving. So it is changing dramatically. I think, again, I always judge a great podcast by how many more doors it opens, how many more conversations it opens. Like you said, the modern player, why aren't they winning the Grand Slams like the old guys did? And I think that's a lot to do with purpose and just the differences in personality. And if they stick with it, I think they're going to obviously they have a longer shelf life. You don't
Absolutely.
you see guys playing a lot longer today. So there's so many fascinating things. And again, it goes back to that's what makes this sport great. It's the reason why we play it. It keeps us alive 10 years longer, life expectancy. There's so much good out of it. Let's keep working on the good.
And exactly, Bobby. And it's very important to every coach which is listening to this, and to everyone who is listening, why tennis is a very good sport to extend your life 10 years more for cognitive reason.
Yep.
Because when you are in the third stage of your life, you start to suffer different kind of illness, which is because you are coming on, and one of the key discover of the two universities, the University of Stockholm and the University of Copenhagen, they put it that tennis is the best sport to extend your cognitive life 10 years more because you are taking decision all the time. This ball is short, the position of the others. You are thinking. When you are thinking and also doing physical activity, which is a main aspect to stay in good health, that's why tennis is the best sport to do that. But I ask you, how many academies are promoting tennis using what in 1994 Dr. Jack Groppel, wrote about the more than 30 benefits of tennis? Almost nobody.
Right.
That's why I say I'm talking about high performance. I'm coming from the high performance side, but tennis high performance, 3,000 guys. That's it. Probably 50,000 coaches, but 450,000 coaches are working for normal people, juniors, adults, recreational people. We need to keep promoting tennis for the condition of the benefits that's bringing for people, for life. And of course, adapt to the new generations and new times, using more social environment, use the different balls to manage the level of the player, like the Japanese is doing. The thing is, again, bring back Winfield, be an innovator, but an innovator in your own program, no innovator to do an invention which is, discovering something very, very odd. No. Do simple things. The other day I was doing a conference in Palm Springs last year, and I said to the coaches, why we are always going from the forehand to the backhand? Why? For the brain, right side, left side is the same. But us, like a tennis coaches, we are saying, we say the weakest part of the player normally is the backhand. Okay? From the beginning, in any training session, all over the world, we are going from the forehand, from the right side to the left side. Okay? Rather to start sometimes to the left side, going to the right side. It means if we are assumed that the weakest part of the game is the backhand, let's work the backhand, opening opportunity to the forehand. What we did in the last 50 years, all over the place, hundreds of thousands of coaches, we go forehand cross-court first. Why? Because we don't understand the brain. We don't understand that for the brain, it's the same right that the left. And you have to teach to the brain, which is the pattern of development of the stroke from the left to the right. But you know what happened? We always go from the right to the left. Sometimes it's common sense.
Well, it only sounds like common sense after you've told us, because now we know, and it sounds obvious only after you tell us. And I want you to tell us infinitely more, but we've got to make sure we don't stay here forever. So, Fernando, I appreciate your time, number one, and I want to end with my favorite question, which we love to ask, and it is the king of tennis question. So I'd love to ask you, if you were king of tennis, whether it's for the world or just high performance, any scale you can imagine, if you were king of tennis, is there anything you would do or change?
Well, there are many things probably my conversation can show you, but three things I can mention very briefly. Firstly, more recognition for coaches. Tennis is the only sport that to be a ATP WTA coach with a badge, you don't need to be a coach. It's incredible. Some players is giving the badge of the coach to his girlfriend. It means more recognition for our profession. Of course, us like a coach, we need to work on that, but tennis coaches are the last part of the chain. From my point of view, is the person in the middle. One thing that I'm gonna do, every tournament in the world, ATP, WTA, ITF, UTA, wherever, to be a coach, be able to do coaching, you have to be certified like a tennis coach. Going to Kalamazoo, to the nationals, and you want to coach, there's no problem. You have a corner, you have a box, a sign in the box. You can coach your player, but you have to show your credential that you are a PTR, USPTA, ITF, RSPA, whatever. Paramount, use what you want, okay? But I don't care about that. For my point of view, is the discussion of public university or private university. I don't care. PTR, USPTA, RSPA, whatever, ITF, From my point of view, you have to be a coach. to be a paramedic in the United States, you need to pass 4 certifications to be a paramedic in the United States. To be a coach, 48 hours. Makes sense, okay? We need to improve that. Better recognition, improve the quality of the process, update, because like happening doctors, architects, lawyers, every 2-3 years, you have to update the knowledge because sports science is changing. Second point. And third point, I celebrate what the US Open did, Stacey Alastair did, about the mixed doubles. Sometimes we need to connect with people, break down the image of tennis. In this case, nobody is remember who was the double mix champions in 1990. Let's do a show with something which is not very, very, on the books. My point is, be innovators, break down some orthodox concept that we have in tennis. And sometimes there are a lot of things that we can learn, even from pickleball and paddle. We can learn from them. Why? I'm sure they are communicating better than us. Okay, that's my, if I'm the king.
That's great. I love it. And I put some thought into it, and I appreciate that because, as I expected, you put some thought into the future of tennis with the time you spend just doing what you do and being you, and we appreciate that. And I'm sure we can talk forever, and you are welcome to come back anytime if there is more that you want to talk about. But I will say thank you, Bobby, of course. Oh, he's over there. Bobby, of course, thank you so much. Fernando Segal, I really appreciate your time. We appreciate your time. And we will be in touch and looking forward to the World Tennis Conference coming up next month.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaun. Thank
Fernando,
you, Bobby.
thank you.
Okay, take care, and we keep pushing forward.